This program contains content that may be distressing to some viewers, including themes of suicide and sexual abuse. Viewer discretion is advised. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Powell Show. I'm your host, Dr. Keisha Powell. In the last episode, we talked with an expert about suicide and sexual abuse trauma. This is part 2 of our 2-part series. Today, again, we're going to be discussing a very sensitive topic that's often a silenced issue: suicide and sexual abuse. Welcome back to the Dr. Powell Show. I'm your host, Dr. Keisha Powell, and with me today is a very special guest, Miss Karen Yarosh, CEO of Whispering Brook Farms, and as I like to call her, a healer. Welcome to the Dr. Powell Show.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about Whispering Brook Farm and what you do.
Okay, so I'm a facility in the Northeast, and we do art instruction, we do art therapy, we do animal-assisted therapy, and agricultural type events.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot, yeah.
And what inspired your work in sexual abuse and suicide prevention therapy?
I saw a need. There's a need, a great need out there. Mm-hmm.
It's a huge need. I do agree with you. And how has your organization helped survivors feel safe and seen and supported?
I would say that the farm and the atmosphere fosters a degree of safety and healing. Mm-hmm.
And what is your, because I know you do, and I hope I'm pronouncing, I always get this messed up sometimes, equine therapy?
Some people call it equine assisted therapy, and I do animal assisted therapy. So not only just with horses, it's with other animals also.
I love horses.
You do?
I do love horses. What does that look like for, say, someone who is a survivor of sexual abuse trauma or who has suicidal ideation tendencies? How does that type of therapy work for them?
So when I meet with someone, we may or may not have an agenda or a structure. I kind of feel that out as we go. So with the equines, the horses in particular, we will be out with them and we can talk about boundaries, personal space. With some of the other animals, like perhaps a rooster or a buck, we will talk about when no means no, and again, personal boundaries and somebody else's energy and how they are behaving towards you and things like that.
I like that because I know when I'm working with patients who have a neurodiverse diagnosis and who may or may not have experienced sexual abuse trauma, we use the Circles program sometimes to talk about boundaries, like what's good versus bad touch, where do we feel safe? And that's what I'm hearing coming out of your therapy. But I also know that you do art therapy as well. So how do you use art therapy to help victims who may struggle with sexual abuse trauma or may have experienced suicide ideation?
So first I would pick a medium that somebody's comfortable with, because that can be pretty intimidating, as well as the agricultural part. If there's an animal that's intimidating, that could either be a gift or not a gift in someone's level of comfortableness. I would have someone interact or perhaps observe an animal that's kind of living on the edge, that person that pushes their safety and behaves in a way that doesn't consider consequences. With art therapy, we would talk about self-love and abuse, self-abuse, but I would definitely use a nonverbal modality and a medium that they're comfortable with. What I love about the two modalities is that they're nonverbal. The two nonverbal modalities of art and animal-assisted therapy in such a residential setting helps a lot of people feel more comfortable and really observe what could be either a memory or something currently going on. So on the farm, there's all kinds of things that happen. So there's birth, there's death, there's incest, there's rape, there's step family, there's adoption, there's, codependency, there's a whole bunch of things. So what happens in the farm dynamic happens in our lives. It mimics it completely. So that's the gift of not being in a clinical setting as well, just in a residential setting.
How can people, or for our viewers, for the benefit of our viewers, how can viewers contact you in order to set up maybe a session or appointments with you, to go through? Because this is something I've never heard of before. I've heard of art therapy and animal-assisted therapy, but to see it used in this capacity, especially for those who may struggle with other issues, this is remarkable with what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for what you're doing, actually.
Thank you.
So how could viewers contact you in order to set up an appointment?
Well, what people can do is text me. My business number is in my business stationery. And then you can also send an email as an introductory. What I do is I usually meet with people so they can meet me, see the grounds, see the art studio, and really get a feel for the direction that they want to go in, if they know that they want to go in a direction or not. This is such an important subject because no one's really talking about it. So thank you, Dr. Powell, for your advocacy. The survivors and the ripple effect of the people around them are so affected by either sexual abuse or suicide. And a lot of times people won't talk about it because there isn't the space of safety. There isn't the space of reality that someone doesn't believe me, it's my fault, that kind of a thing. So I think being quiet and listening to people is really important, having them feel safe and letting them share their story is important. Even if bits and pieces come out, it's better to have that than to hang on to all that pressure. That's a lot of weight to carry around for a long time. And as we know, we're breaking the chains of repetition in generations and generations. And I think one of the gifts of the Me Too movement is people being responsible and being able to look at the new way to interact, and really no means no, and this is okay, this is not okay. And I think as our gender roles are changing and are attached to the economic, like the workplace, roles are changing, our lives are really changing. Things like that make a difference, make a very big difference in how you're treated. It is in your backyard. It is everywhere. It is not just female related, it's not age related, and that's something that everybody really needs to consider. So for instance, before I mentioned a rooster or a buck or a ram, which are really randy types of energetic male-bodied beings, females are equally as dominating, as tricky. I think when it becomes more of a common conversation, thanks to you, the advocacy, the educational part of us talking about it, it could be a more comfortable conversation to have. And as people share their stories, other people can share their stories and relate to that. Even witnessing abuse is equally as traumatic as having it happen to you.
That's very true.
So the more we make it comfortable that people can share their stories without the judgment, without, I don't know, perhaps all the other blocks and brick walls that somebody can build on, the easier it is for the healing to happen. Yeah, and again, thank you for your advocacy, because it is so necessary, and it's not something that's talked about often enough.
And that's why we say it's a silent issue, because unfortunately many survivors, and I want to make it very clear to any viewer who has experienced sexual abuse trauma and felt close to suicide, that you are not a victim. You are a survivor, and you're not alone, and help is available. Because a lot of people are so ashamed. First, you have to go through mourning what you were hoping for and embrace what you have. And that's the most difficult thing to do. And I've often said to survivors that you don't have anything to be ashamed of. The first thing you have to do is say to yourself, I am me. That person did not take my whole personality from me. And you have to change the trajectory of who you are. I am a sexual abuse survivor. I was 6 years old when I was sexually abused by my next door neighbor. And a lot of people ask me, well, Dr. Powell, how did you overcome this? I'm not saying that everyone will have the same journey, but fortunately for me, when I got older, I was able to confront the person who did this to me. And I asked them, why did you do it? Why did you try to steal my childhood? And for most people, they said, well, you were brave. It helped me to take back my voice. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Being able to take your voice back. And now I am very grateful to God that I get to do the work I'm doing today for so many, especially for people who are diagnosed with disabilities, because many of them cannot speak for themselves. So my role is to train parents, train clinicians to identify what those triggers may look like, or what those characteristics may look like in terms of sexual abuse. And then I also think about young people who have gone through this, not just children, but teenagers, because you carry that trauma with you. A child never understands, because they're being conditioned at a young age that this is happening to their bodies. They don't know. They don't know what's going on. What would a 6-year-old know about sex? And then you get to become a teenager, your body is changing, and you're like, wait a minute, something happened to me. And that's when everything will flood. Like it just comes straight up. And then you realize, this was me. But unless you can take your voice back and own that power, you will struggle with it. Now I don't struggle, but I do speak up and I speak out.
Thank God.
And this is what the Dr. Powell Show is about, to bring people to connect resources to so many of us, because it for me, what hurts the most is to see someone struggling and still sitting in that pain.
That's
so thank
toxic.
you for what you're doing, because it is true. There are so many young people who are struggling, who don't even understand. And I think what we fail to also accept that sexual abuse doesn't only occur with young men, children, adults, teens. Most times people tend to look at girls, but forget that it happens to boys as well. It happens to men in different cultures, in different capacities. Race, ethnicity has nothing to do with it. It's impartial to everything that we consider, oh, it would happen there, but not here. It is happening. And the whole purpose of this show is to say that you're not alone. And I hope viewers out there who require services will seek your services out, because this, as I've been saying to other people, that this year is a year of healing. And you're a healer in so many ways. And again, thank you for watching. I probably say this throughout the show. Thank you so much. My next question is, how do you build trust with someone who has experienced deep trauma?
I will listen. I will listen and I will be with them. I think that giving them that kind of a space without noise and distraction and having a trust will enable someone to feel more comfortable, perhaps relatable, like I was saying before with watching the farm animals and that kind of a thing. But also I think there's an inner kind of an energy that happens between people if you know what to look for. If you've experienced it yourself, it takes one to know one.
Thank you, because we need more healers like you, you know. What can our audience do today to make a difference?
So I think sharing in the right places with the right people in a safe space to keep talking about it. The conversations that we have with ourselves, the inner work that you can do, and with other people will really catapult healing. I think that's what I think will help. It gives you the ability to learn about yourself, and actually even for your predator to learn. So talking about those chains again.
Because sometimes people may not recognize a sexual abuse predator was also a victim of sexual abuse, and unfortunately they never learned to get the help or seek the help they need. They themselves become predators as well. Not in all cases, and I want to make that very clear. It depends on what they went through with their trauma. There is no excuse for any adult or anyone to abuse anyone or to try and take away that person's right and try to turn them into a victim. And that's why I've always said, do not see yourself as a victim, but rather see yourself as a survivor. What's next? Healing. Healing takes a while. It's not going to happen overnight, as you could tell us. But it does come when you try to make and take those steps. And what you are offering to so many people are those steps.
One of the things that I learned from the trafficking population is the voice, getting the space to be able to share. It is so embedded and it's so oppressive. And I don't even know if I want to limit that to that population. But even like you were saying, as a young person growing up, you're getting your voice. So if you're constantly being thwarted, who do you talk to? Who do you turn to? So having places to go to share is really important. You know, that aunt, that uncle that is safe, someone else that you might know.
What are some of the techniques that you would use with clients who have suicidal ideation or sexual abuse trauma that you could share with the viewers?
So really, I think for people to feel related to, and the farm mimics that. In art, you create your own world. So it's really a beautiful platform to start with for expression of how you're feeling. And to move those feelings is so important, and not to sit with them.
Yes, good. Thank you so much for being on the Dr. Powell Show today. It was such an honor to have you here, but most important is the work that you're doing to help people to heal and to, I wouldn't say overcome, but to grow through their trauma, because everyone's journey and story, as you said before, is different, but what you are doing is tremendous. Thank you for the great work you're doing, and we appreciate you again.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Powell, and thank you for your work.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Change starts with us.
It starts with listening and believing survivors.
I want to grow up in a world free from fear.
But harmful norms keep too many silent.
Looking out for one another is our shared responsibility.
Speaking up isn't easy, but it's necessary.
I
want to be a part of the solution.
Consent is not optional, it's required.
Respect for others
is the foundation of every safe community.
Our future depends on what we do now.
On the field or off, we protect each other.
This is our time to make a difference.
United, we build a safer and more respectful world.
A world we all deserve.
Together we act to prevent sexual abuse, assault, and harassment. Learn more at respecttogether.org.
To sponsor the show or to help other programs, donate to Community Voice channel at this QR code that you'll see coming up on the screen. Thank you again for watching the Dr. Powell Show. If you or someone you know is struggling, please do not stay silent. Help is available. For suicide prevention, call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline by dialing 988 for 24/7 confidential support. This service is available nationwide and also here in the state of Connecticut. The United Way of Connecticut 211, dial 211 for free, and confidential assistance and referrals to local resources will be available, including mental health services. For sexual abuse support, the Connecticut Alliance to End Sexual Violence, call the 24-hour statewide sexual assault crisis hotline at 1-888-999-5545, and for Spanish, 1-888-568-8332 for confidential support and advocacy. For autism-related and sexual abuse therapy trauma, contact Powell Therapy Solutions, LLC, or contact us here at the Dr. Powell Show for more information at powelltherapysolutions@gmail.com. Remember, reaching out is the first vital step forward to getting help. You are not alone, and support is available. Thank you.